2950 Imperator election. Every 10 years, the citizens of the United Empire of Earth come together to elect the next Imperator. Security, economic development, military spending, alien affairs, general ethical and moral views of society will be heavily influenced by the Imperator and their plans for humanity. A 10-year plan charting our path through the stars doesn't involve destiny, only determination. Pali Lomet. Every decade the UEE holds a special election to select the next Imperator. The Imperator serves a single 10-year term as the head of the UEE government, where they oversee all branches of government, act as a diplomatic figurehead, sign or veto laws passed by the Senate, and more. The Imperator election is similar to the senatorial election, as only citizens have the honor of voting. This year-long process begins the previous October, with any UEE resident allowed to enter the primary. In January, a primary vote whittles the candidate field down to 10, and the secondary vote in April further reduces the number of candidates to 5. The final 5 then have until October to convince citizens to vote for them during the 2-week-long final vote, which begins on Citizens' Day, October 10th. The 2950 Imperator election features an exciting field of candidates from both the public and private sectors. Candidates have solidified their core campaign promises and shared with voters what their first act as Imperator would be if elected. With polls tightening, it's anyone's guess who will be elected next to chart the course for the Empire for the next decade. Only citizens can vote for Imperator. Each citizen can cast one vote for the final vote occurring between October 10th and October 24th. 2950. Candidates listed alphabetically by last name. Laylani Addison. Progress, education, innovation, science first. First act. Loosen the current restrictions on AI research to allow the expansion of new ideas and innovations that would benefit the entire empire. Core campaign promises: increase government spending on education and scientific research initiatives to launch a new era of innovation. Would authorize highly regulated AI research to support these advances. Personal statement: I'll never forget the first Jean ship I saw. Its form was familiar but strange, its presence beautiful but menacing. As a little girl standing awestruck at a spaceport on Oya 3, the xenocraft made me feel uneasy, yet excited. Fascinated, I studied all I could about Jean's ships and came to appreciate that beneath the obvious differences, there were many more similarities to be found. This realization inspired my lifelong belief that studying and learning are vital steps towards empathy and understanding. My discussions with people across the empire have revealed a similar mixture of excitement and apprehension about our current state of affairs. I cannot deny that we currently face monumental challenges, from a horrific war against a merciless enemy to vast economic inequality. Yet, thanks to my experience as a researcher and scientist, I refuse to let fear dictate my future and choose instead to focus on the promise before us. I believe the ills of the empire can be addressed through education and innovation. I will fight to reshape the UAE central government into an institution that improves the lives of its constituents by cultivating knowledge and inspiring change. A new empire awaits us if we are brave enough to create it. Dean of Applied Science at Mentor University, Education, Advocate, Political Affiliation, Independent. Endorsements: Educators United, Institute for Interspecies Peace, UEE Science Society. Titus Costigan, The Outsider's Insider, Universalist. First Act: I would bolster the economy by eliminating onerous regulations that slow the flow of inter-system trade, and will use the additional tax revenue generated by this economic uptick to increase defense spending. Core campaign promises: increase economic activity by reducing business regulations. Focus the central government on protecting the empire from external and internal threats. Personal statement: I am running to become Imperator because I believe that I have the experience necessary to lead the UAE into its most prosperous decade ever. Years of success in the private sector taught me that managing a massive system-spanning operation requires not only ambition and imagination, but fiscal responsibility and a strong support team made up of innovative thinkers who will challenge and drive you. Know that it is not out of some misguided sense of legacy or birthright that I seek this position, but rather because I am convinced that the Empire's best days lie ahead of us, and that under my forward-thinking leadership, together we can put the UAE on a path toward peace and prosperity. Will you join me? CEO, Ezra Industries. Political affiliation, Universal Party. Endorsements: Business Economic Trust, Merchant Guild, Intersystem Haulers United. What do I see here? Let's have this burrito. And eat it. Next candidate, Paul Lesalle. Vote centralist. First Act: Paul's goal of expanding economic prosperity for all begins with a thorough re-evaluation of the Fair Chance Act. For far too long, ridiculous restrictions have prohibited people from extracting resources from locations that lack life or utilizing cutting-edge technology that can harvest resources with minimal disturbance to the developing life forms. Core campaign promises: empower individuals to prosper by reducing taxes and regulations, including loosening certain weapon restrictions and revoking the Fair Chance Act for the modern era. Low-level criminals would receive monetary penalties instead of prison, so they have a chance to become a positive influence in society. Personal statement: Paul Lesalle has dedicated his life to public service and improving the UAE for all. He believes that the government's primary role is to protect individual liberties so people can prosper. For decades, he pursued and defended these policies in several political arenas. He's had the honor of representing the great system of GOS in the Senate, where he advocated for fairer tax system and created an incentive system for companies to provide employment for struggling planners. For the past 8 years, he also proudly served as the Centralist Party chairman, unifying the party back to the core ideology and leading them to important election victories across the empire. Paul has worked with and against the expansive government system and is now prepared to steer humanity in an exciting new direction, one that protects the people from external threats while still fostering the freedom to pursue their dreams. Paul has spent his life preparing for this moment and is ready, willing, and able to enact bold ideas that will build a government that works for the people. Politician, former chair of Centralist Party, political affiliations, Centralist Party. Endorsements, Centralist Party, Federation of Interstellar Business, Wakana Society. Mira Ngo, new ideas, new universe. First act. My first action would be to declare Terra the new capital of the UEE and began the process of moving governmental institutions into the system. Core campaign promises: move the UEE capital to Terra as a symbol of our focus on the future. She would also outlaw terraforming, expanding the common laws to provide more protection to citizens and civilians, and require government agencies hire more Tavarians so they have a say in the Empire's future. Personal statement. On April 30th, 2793, my grandmother stepped onto the UE Senate floor and cast a historic vote for the Governance Modernization Act, GMA, which fell 3 votes short of moving the Empire's capital from Earth to Terra. That hope of reshaping our government to be able to harness the full breadth of our potential has never died. Almost 150 years later, I am running to be Imperator so that this dream of a reimagined empire with Terra at its center will become a reality. I have dedicated my life to public service, becoming the youngest person ever elected to the UEE Senate. This immense honor was only possible because as senators, my grandmother and father were beloved and trusted advocates for a more open and progressive empire. Today, I proudly carry that mantle and have a vast voting record to back up my beliefs. I believe this empire desperately needs new ideas and new perspectives to create a better future for all. We need to show that humanity has truly taken a step forward and is making an effort to own our own future. Making Terra the Empire's new capital will signal such a shift and inspire innovative solutions to problems continually plaguing us. Together, let's create a government that respects our past but remains firmly focused on the future. Now is your chance to make a historic vote to realize the ultimate dream of bringing the UE capital to Terra. Support me in the next great social revolution and usher in a new era of growth and innovation for our empire. Let's build a better future for us all and bring progress to the people. UEE Senator representing Terra. Endorsements: Transitionalist Party, Future Frontier Foundation. Diplomats for Lasting Peace. Illyana Sharrad. Safety Now, Unity Now, Sharrad. First Act. Illyana will fast-track one infrastructure project in each system. This will provide long overdue public works improvements, create employment opportunities, and increased economic activity across the UAE. Core campaign promises: increase infrastructure spending to create jobs and improve the backbone of the empire. Freeze Synth World funding to evaluate its current potential. Promote active engagement that requires those seeking assistance to help the empire in other ways, like volunteering to receive aid. Personal statement. High Secretary Illyana Sharrad has devoted her life to improving the empire. For the past 8 years, she's had the honor of serving Imperator Costigan as High Secretary and overseen trillions of credits in infrastructure improvements across the UAE. Before her transition into public service, Illyana protected taxpayers in the private sector by exposing a massive corruption scheme centered around bids for public works projects. Illyana is running to be the next Imperator because not only is she the best bridge between the current administration and an exciting new future, but she has the experience and skills to manage the Empire's complex bureaucracy and lead it in bold new directions. She'll let the generals continue their successful campaign against the Vandu, rebuild crumbling infrastructure across the Empire, and create new programs that incentivize civic engagement. Illyana wants to build bridges, not tear them down, because hands-on experience has taught her that the UAE's major problems can only be solved when the people of the Empire come together. Current High Secretary. Political affiliation, Universal Party. Endorsements, Universal Party. Unified Public Servants. Civic Engagement Society. Have you found your candidate and support their first official act and their core campaign promises? Then now is the time to choose and influence the development of the Empire. The election runs from October 10th to October 24th, and we will announce the result and unveil the new Imperator of the United Empire of Earth on November 1st. Cast your vote now.